especially big wig. I mean, you got to have a character who throws wigs. He has a collection of wigs. He just chucks at people.
That's a great name for a character. Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't apply to him being like, I'm a big wig. I am important. I'm a millionaire. He just throws wigs at people. Just pulls them out of his pocket.
Hilarious.
Oh, I love it. Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 593. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Baines. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
He's saying hi for Tance and Pitt, who aren't here. So 3 highs.
Right, yeah.
So this week we're talking about having the dangers of having all your eggs in one basket. As a digital creator, when you're in this modern world, you can post your videos on YouTube and make a living out of it. You can post your music on Spotify and make a living out of that. You can post your comics on Drunkduck or Webtoon or Tapas or something like this, and make your money as a professional comic artist. Not through Drunkduck, but through some of those other sites anyway. But you can rely on that and make money off it and make a business and quit your day job, and or maybe you've still got a day job, but you're making the majority of your money through this business you've started that relies on the ad revenue or from your YouTube videos or your Spotify downloads, something like that. Or Instagram channel. In this world, as it is now, you can actually make your living doing that. But there are dangers to that. What if the algorithm changes? What if the editorial policy of these websites change? What if they've suddenly decided, okay, I think that was a bit rude that I saw a side boob on that video. I'm going to demonetize you now. You've got a warning. Like half your ad revenue is cut. Oh no, you can no longer monetize your channel because we've decided you've broken a rule that we've just made up for a video you made 2 years ago before we made these rules.
Yeah.
Now we've decided you can't monetize it because you broke something that we retroactively made illegal, made against the rules on our channel, and that actually happens on these sites. They do it. So, and then suddenly your business model's like ruined. You can't afford payments for your house, stuff like that. All this work you put into promoting these channels, or this social media thing that runs your business, all that is wiped out. All that investment, like for some people this can involve thousands of dollars, and it's just wiped out by this little rule change on one of these websites. So this is what we're going to talk about, but first I have to bring up the featured comic. The featured comic this week was something that I featured. It was called The Black...
Oh, wait a second, Oz. I just realized that the featured comic has been banned.
Oh no. Damn it.
It just popped up, so I'm sorry.
Well, that's the Quackcast just scuppered completely. Damn it. Who are these people who are in charge of Drunkduck making these rules?
They're idiots, that's all I know.
Bloody idiots. Jesus.
Yeah.
Should be killed.
I'm sorry, I had to say. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. All right, well, it's me. I make the rules, so I'm unbanning it now. My whim.
Finally, the hero we need, deserve.
All right. Okay, so our featured comic this week was The Black Parade. So I'm going to talk about that pretty much now. So, Black Parade.
Yay.
Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was The Black Parade. A young man receives devastating news, a diagnosis of incurable cancer in the brain. This shatters his world and leads to an exploration of death and despair as we're taken on a ride through his thoughts and shown his imagined funeral and the experience of fellow terminal cases in the hospital. The art is all black and white and drawn with exquisite detail. The story is a visual interpretation of the song The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. It's quite heavy and emotional of a subject. Ashley S. describes it as a fan comic of the song. We normally don't feature fan comics, but this is an interpretation of a song, so it's quite a different thing from a fan comic of, say, Sonic the Hedgehog or Superman or something like that, where you've got a fan comic of a comic, or of a TV show where you have already visualized characters and you're just doing your own version of visualized characters. This is a wholly new interpretation of this song in comic form. The only thing that is pre-existing are the song lyrics. So I think it's fair enough to feature it. It's basically, there's a whole lot of original material, and that's the reason. Anyway, it's a fantastic piece of work. It looks gorgeous, and it should be interesting to see how the interpretation of the entire song turns out. We're only a few verses in so far, so hopefully we'll see where it goes. Anyway, I hope you like reading The Black Parade by Ashley S., rated M. And that was the featured comic, which was The Black Parade. Which is not the My Chemical Romance song. No, this is a comic based on it. So, next up we have the featured music. And the featured music today was My Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. No, it wasn't. We're not featuring a real song by a band. We're featuring a theme that Gumwallace made for us with his skill and talent. And it's called the Cribble series. Well, at least it is a theme for a comic called the Cribble series. This is a raw, wiry electric guitar as it weaves in and out in an exotic tangle, threading around this tune to create a barbaric-themed melange from a distant time and place. So take it away, Gumwallace, with the theme to Cribble series. And that was the theme to Cribble series. I hope you enjoyed that. Which is Cribble series. It's a comic by Trebuchet. Rated M. Trebuchet. Sounds like triple box set.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're back to the Quackcast. We're talking about the sticking all your eggs in one basket and the dangers of that in this new digital world, and it's so tempting to do. You know, we've seen these YouTubers especially, I mean, they're the prime example, the YouTubers, because YouTube it started out as a video sharing platform amongst the few that were around. YouTube took off and it became quite popular. It had a lot of users on there. and it sort of became the main video platform. And people started to make a bit of money out of it, especially because, you know, they were had monetizing options. They were doing sponsored like ads and things like that, sponsored videos. Then Google came along and said, we can buy up all the things, like Google has done, because, you know, that's how the internet has gone, with a few companies buying up everything. Google bought up YouTube. They offered direct monetization options. So if people bring in a lot of viewers, they could monetize that by having ads that are made that advertisers come to YouTube to pay to have ads on videos, and then users can say, "Yep, I'll agree to have ads on my video," and those ads show up on their video, and they make a portion of that ad revenue. So that revenue sharing made like that kind of like accelerated people into the stratosphere. Suddenly you had people who were, you know, making a little bit of money from YouTube, or making no money from YouTube, making a lot of money, and you had people who could like make a livelihood. They could quit their day job and use that as their, you know, primary source of income. That happened. That was the first big kind of I don't know, utopia, kind of the golden age of making money through YouTube. Suddenly they had this pretty neutral platform. It was based on like what user interest was, like, and they had some kind of algorithm that would promote some sort of videos based on, I don't know, some kind of I don't know, thing, and I don't know, that resulted in PewDiePie being extremely popular just because he happened to match all the things that the algorithm decided is good for kind of sharing. So that happened to PewDiePie, and he became like a millionaire through this, which was great for him. But he's an extreme example. On Back Down to Earth, there are a lot of YouTubers who are just, you know, doing well on their content, making content that people like to see. People subscribe to their content. They are able to, you know, easily find their subscribed videos, go to those channels that these people made, and continue to watch their stuff. And then these people were able to sort of, you know, make a living out of it, and they put a lot of effort into their videos, and they produce them like almost like TV shows. They have, you know, good cameras, good lighting, good microphones. They invest in the editing time. They have like good editing programs. They spend hours doing the editing. Sometimes they have like actual editors to do the videos for them. They have people who make the thumbnails specifically for them. And, you know, they spend a lot of time doing these videos in order to make the money. And they could do that, and they made a living from it. But then YouTube, which was owned by Google, decided, oh no, we're going to make some editorial changes. We don't like certain kinds of content being promoted on our site, so we're going to demonetize certain people for certain things. So people who had like things that I know specifically, like, because I enjoyed these firearms channels or weapons channels, like for swords and stuff like that. I like to watch that because I'm interested in antique swords. So there's this channel, and there's these ones about antique firearms as well, or, you know, the history of firearms, and I find those very interesting. But Google was thinking, oh, we don't want to promote violence, and they equated like antique swords and like the art of sword fighting with promoting violence. So suddenly these people found themselves earning a lot less money, or like, you know, not being able to monetize half their videos and having to dispute the monetization, like having to dispute these videos being demonetized constantly, because
that's crazy.
Yeah, YouTube just thought, well, we don't like violence, and so yeah.
I heard the same from some like political channels that I was watching that were flagged and demonetized for talking about war. What specific war I don't remember. It was a few years ago now, when the so-called adpocalypse happened.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So it was some kind of commentary on war, but these channels were anti-war. They were talking about the war, but they're anti-war political commentators, you know. But being anti-war, even you said you referenced the war, and the algorithm picked it up, and the context didn't matter, and demonetized.
That happened
And
with the
people are making a living from their YouTube channels.
yeah. There's this history channels, especially now. I love like battleships. So there's the channels about the history of battleships, channels about the history of the Second World War, the First World War. They had many viewers, and this is educational content. This is straight out, flat out history. It's not even opinion on history. It's just history from original sources that they're doing. They're using original sources and then just doing straight out history, not the History Channel crap that focuses on Nazis. This is real, actual history, and they found themselves being demonetized because they reference the wars in history. So
wow. That's even crazier.
And this is the adpocalypse which you referenced, and I don't think it was just down to Google. I think it was down to some corporations, or maybe it might have started with individuals thinking, "Oh, we're gonna like force these corporations to behave in a way we want by campaigning against these people who advertise on things that are connected to things that we don't like." So I think that was the very beginning of it. Like real kind of like people who think of themselves as being well-meaning, but they don't understand unintended consequences. So they...
Well, here's what I heard I think you're right, but I also heard that like there was an ad that showed up. A lot of this process is automated, obviously. But an ad showed up on a video that was made by like some kind of white supremacist or something, or some kind of like segregationist or something, some kind of Nazi channel, literally. Some small channel on YouTube, just some person doing that. And an ad showed up, and the company got wind of it and complained, and YouTube, their response to like this complaint from one of their corporate advertisers was to just raise the whole, R-A-Z-E, R-A-Z-E, like sort of like plow through and like demonetize across the board anyone who mentioned certain things.
Yeah. So for I think there might have been like, a few of these things kind of coalescing. There's that. There's activists and activist shareholders. That was a big thing. That was the rise of that kind of thing as well.
Right.
And that was all coming together, and suddenly Google is these massive companies. They get bee in their bonnet, and then they just go thump and institute kind of, like you say, these mass kind of rules that just destroy everything. And one of the biggest issues is they can't really let on how their rules are managed, because if they do, then you have these skeevy kind of people who exploit them and make just crappy videos that are designed to exploit their algorithms, and will make heaps of money just with a meaningless kind of copy-paste videos, which happens.
It right to the edge of the rules and like sort of not quite break them, but whatever.
Yeah, it happens. You have these Indian and Chinese channels that just specialize in doing stuff like baby music, and it makes millions. They're some of the most, I don't know if they're still the most popular, but they became some of the most popular channels on YouTube just by exploiting the algorithm.
What do they make?
Baby music? Yeah, music for babies. Because what happens is, I think there were you could get like YouTube Kids. I think that's part of it, which is a separate kind of YouTube system, and also like there's baby monitors and various like tools like this, which will just stream music and content from YouTube constantly. And the thing is, they designed videos around that would stream onto these things, so their videos would always be playing on these kind of automated systems, which meant that they're making millions and millions of dollars, and they became the most popular videos on YouTube. So
I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah, that happens so that's why that's one of the reasons why they keep their rules secret, because if you can exploit it, then you can create crap, and you get all the money from YouTube. But the problem is
good point. Yeah.
The problem is, because their rules are secret and their algorithms secret and all this, then people who are trying to make money as legitimate people who do invest so much time and so much money into this as a job aren't able to have a sense of security, because it can all be wiped out in seconds. And this is a pattern that's mirrored on multiple platforms. Spotify has this, Webtoon, Instagram, Facebook, any site you can imagine has these kind of things. Any site that's not directly controlled by the person who is displaying their content, which is all these sites.
Right.
Even Drunkduck.
You even have oh, sorry, man. Even Drunkduck. So.
Yeah, even
you're willing planning comics and stuff.
I'll just say Patreon and PayPal. They do this, and it's caused issues. But yeah, Drunkduck. We don't ban comics, and we have these specific rules about display and of what comics that can be featured, and what comics can have certain say there's an adult comic. Adult comics are fine on the site, we don't mind them, but their thumbnail doesn't appear to people who aren't logged into the site, and not only logged in, but they have to be above a certain age to see the thumbnails and to be able to look at the comics. Even mature comics, I think their thumbnails don't always appear to... I don't know, I'm not sure, but definitely adult comics. You have to be logged in to view the adult comics. So there's rules that affect those comics. Those haven't changed for, I don't know, years and years and years. So longer than most of these other sites like Instagram have even existed. But the thing is, if they did change, that would change... there wouldn't be a sense of stability. People wouldn't be able to sort of, base their expectations, and wouldn't be able to, set things up properly if they didn't have a sense of security, a sense of stability, because, rules have changed. So,
right.
I mean, we're not planning on making changes, but we are going to change the front page of the website, because we're updating it, and I have to think about what is we're just changing the look of the site, but what kind of changes even so are going to impact people? Are these changes going to ruin people's are they going to ruin people's viewership? I have to be careful about that.
I hope not. Yeah,
it's a possibility. Just by changing the visual look and the arrangement of things, that can have these consequences. And
sure.
I don't think that these big companies like Google with YouTube think about that, or they tend to think that we only care about the top 10%. We don't care about these the top 40% or the top 50%, or the little guys.
I mean, in terms of they'll tilt the table. This is what I'm hearing. I don't really know how true it is, but it seems like there's some truth to this, that they're tilting the table. I'm talking YouTube, I'm talking Google, probably these other sites. I'm only on YouTube, really. I don't really go on those other things like Facebook or whatever, but that they're tilting the table to favor corporate content.
Yes.
A lot of cable companies, corporations, media corporations are moving online now. Nobody's watching TV. Nobody's watching them. So they're moving online, and no one wants to watch them there either. But now you have companies, you have Google/YouTube favoring them and deliberately guiding people to their content over like independent content that people actually like.
Definitely, that's what they're doing. They
Yeah.
like
That's when I really hate them.
YouTube says it does not favor certain types of content. It does not favor certain people, but it actively courts celebrities in order to get them onto the platform and says, we will promote you. We will, tilt the tables for you. So they're actually lying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what tends to happen. Unfortunately, it's moved on from being a democratized citizen kind of content, citizen creative content platform onto just another arm of Hollywood, really corporate.
Yeah, or like the big money kind of establishment, not just Hollywood definitely, but also the sort of corporate ruling class, big money. I mean, it's scary to think about a future, and not hard to imagine like any anti-corporate messages just outright getting blocked or banned.
Yeah,
when we really need those voices, like it's pretty scary.
Well, we had that with almost with Twitter, with the great twit himself, Elon Musk, trying to purchase Twitter, ostensibly because he's thinking, I want to have these changes that make it better for creators, but really it's better for him because he's the best creator, obviously, and what he thinks should that's how Twitter should be, which wouldn't necessarily benefit anyone else, really, or would only benefit people like him. And he's saying like tweet should be twice as long or blah 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 blah, but it's a lot of his rules are actually going to disadvantage a whole lot of people because he's a very self-centered person who doesn't really think in terms of like that there are many different people who have different points of view and use things in different ways. So I think he would have been a bit of a YouTube adpocalypse creator if he took over Twitter.
It's possible. I mean, Twitter is horrible. Like, I'm not on that either, but like all I hear about it is like tons of bots. It's so pro-establishment. It's so like slanted, but not in a good way. It's kind of like it's sort of a culture. The people there are like culture warriors, and agree with them or not. It's like I don't know. It just sucks. People get banned like crazy. I didn't think Elon Musk was gonna like save free speech on Twitter. It's kind of like I never like the people who were like scared of him coming on board and the people who were excited. I was like, why are you scared and why are you excited?
It's interesting to know.
It's going to change that much,
From
and I never thought he was like early on. I thought he's not going to buy it. I could kind of tell with the help of commentators I trust. Like he's trying to weasel out of this deal. They said that early on, like when he was first raising doubts. It's like he's signaling he's trying to get out of this now because he's realized he's offered to overpay for this thing. Like, it's probably true. So I didn't think it would happen.
He flubbed it absolutely. Fool. Yeah. Made an idiot of himself. From my point of view,
$1 billion fine to pay potentially for backing out. Potentially.
Yeah, hopefully. From my point of view, I would think that it would be a I mean, some people would think Twitter's crap anyway, so he's just going. Whatever he's going to do is just going to mix it up, and maybe for the better, or if it's worse, it doesn't really matter because it's shit anyway. But I tend to think it's probably not as slanted too far as you think. It's probably uh fairly even across the board. Like it might be slanted a little bit in some ways. And what would tend to happen if, someone like that came along, he would be the force of chaos that destroys the stability that people have. And just that would, be a catalyst for ruining a lot of stuff that's set up, that's working. And suddenly it would just like, what tends to happen is the level that people have reached, and they can sort of, even if there is a slant, they can work against it in a certain way, and things kind of just work. What tends to happen when something chaotic comes along is that completely collapses, and you get a lot of chaos, and then you have a bit of an apocalypse where, things just break down and they might not recover properly. So it's dangerous to do that kind of stuff.
It might have. I mean, I did hear some people say they thought that it might, or it probably would destroy the platform if he went all in on the actual free speech thing. Like, was he going to allow strong anti-corporate messages that got popular that called out Musk himself? I don't necessarily think so. Is he in favor of that kind of free speech? I don't know. But also, would it have been taken over by just awfulness, which are some of the loudest people online, and then just most of the members or most of the eyeballs would just go away. They'd go somewhere else.
Yeah,
platform. That might have happened. Depends.
That's a huge thing. Yeah. That kind of thing tends to happen. It's like the American political system. People thought, well, it doesn't matter if Trump gets elected. We have conservative and liberal kind of things. It just goes backwards and forwards. We're just, swinging the pendulum to the other side again. But they didn't realize that Trump isn't the normal conservative. He's an idiot. And he just...
I mean, I must admit, I don't know. I don't want to annoy anyone. Too late, Baines. You're years too late for that. But yeah, I mean, what I liked about that whole thing of Trump running and then being elected was how he would tweak the noses of corporate media and people who, it was very satisfying to see them get their noses tweaked with the sort of campaign and stuff mostly. I was nervous when he actually won and shocked, because it was I don't like this. He doesn't really seem to know what he's doing at all. So it's kind of I think a lot of big money people hate his personality, but he did everything they wanted.
Oh yes, he is.
So on that level, he's just as awful. He's Mitt Romney. He's just got a completely different personality.
Yeah, he's he's a
He
politician. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Sorry, what did you say?
I was saying he is a politician, but an amateur politician. So he is definitely not outside of politics, but he is an extreme amateur, but a very self-centered person who didn't follow any of the rules of world politics. So you could say
right.
Yeah. He was.
I guess it's the rules of decorum and the tweets. I'm happy to see someone break those rules, just in a sort of being a goofball and being kind of looking at corporate media who are idiots and saying, "Oh, you're idiots." Was kind of satisfying to me. Enjoyed seeing it.
But his stance on world politics was quite destructive and potentially apocalyptic. It could have been if he was allowed to continue, which was why he only got it one term, which that's a very rare thing in American politics. But
they do say we got close to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was scary when he was there. It was scary, but Not to minimize that, but it's scary now. It's still scary.
Well,
You know,
I think
all of
he went along on a particular path that resulted in like branching consequences, and now we have the that going on with China's kind of stratospheric rise in power in certain ways was allowed to sort of go unchecked, and Russia's path was sort of set on its trajectory because of certain decisions that he'd made, and I'd say he definitely had some kind of responsibility in the resulting invasion of Ukraine from.
I don't know. I mean, I will say that I don't want an egomaniac in power just because I like seeing other powerful people shaken. Like, it was nice, but I'm not saying it was a good thing to have like a fool egomaniac there, at all. Of course, I feel like this is gonna like upset people or something. But
Well, we won't
no, I
get
wasn't. Okay.
too far on that.
We're a little
Sorry.
we're a little off track here. I think.
Yeah. So the idea was that if you have someone changing the rules in a certain way that ruins stability for people, that certain like standards and
Uh-huh.
like stuff that people can rely on, that a sense of stability that has many unintended consequences and can like destroy people's lives. And like the macro was that it goes all the way up like in terms of politics. So the Trump thing was an example of that thing tending to happen. But in putting a very inexperienced person in charge who wants to make their own rules and really doesn't care about the consequences that's going to have for the little people on the ground, which mirrors in like these online things like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. Like we've had accounts on YouTube, Twitter, not Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr. That's a good example. So Tumblr was a very important piece of social media that people were able to make these big accounts on, that they invested a lot of time and effort on, popularizing their stuff. Suddenly Tumblr changed the rules and said, look, no more adult content. And they had allowed adult content for years. And suddenly they stopped doing it, which banned masses amounts of users. They found themselves with no more home. They couldn't use this site anymore. And Tumblr wasn't good. And I'm not talking about, just porn, just straight out people posting nudity. This was a site for like trans activists and, gay and queer and all that group. Like you had them using this as a positive force for good. And getting the word out, it was a good kind of thing for information. You had comic artists posting their work on there. We had lots of like adult comic artists who were posting great, artistic work on Tumblr that suddenly lost their platform. It was just taken out from under them, and we had them coming onto Drunkduck, which was a good thing, but for us, but not so good for them because they had to find a whole new platform and start from the beginning. You losing all their fans and stuff like that on Tumblr because they made this decision. So this is a problem of having all your eggs in one basket, like all your videos and all your money coming through YouTube or all your comics on one particular site. The rules change and suddenly you're out of luck. And the more money you invest in that, the more money and time, the more you lose all in one go. So that's the world we're living in. So how do we combat that?
Yes. Exactly.
To combat that.
Well, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you see a lot of, and I mean, let's shrink it down a little bit. Like we were sort of talking about the idea that like PayPal can do it. They can decide they're offended.
Yep.
This has only been in extreme cases so far, but it's disturbing because of what it could lead to, So even if you had your own website and you're getting contributions through PayPal, like what if PayPal decides, no, this is offensive content. This defies our very vague guidelines. So now you're not allowed to process payments. Very scary. But so what YouTubers do though is they'll have their YouTube videos, they'll have YouTube ads, they'll have a Patreon. I think almost everyone has that now. The established YouTubers, they'll have a Patreon, and probably other stuff. Maybe some of them have a Ko-fi, which is like a Patreon type site.
Yeah.
There are one or two alternatives to PayPal. Not everywhere are they accepted, but I think my sort of limited knowledge would say have a backup plan. That's outside of in life. Like if you're going to quit your job and you're like committing to this online business, like be aware of this stuff. Like what happens if I just get shut down completely? I get demonetized by YouTube. Like what do I do? What's my backup plan there? And just in life in general, if you're doing that, like what if I'm shut down everywhere for some reason? Like some crazy thing happens and corporate shenanigans and I can't make any money online. Like sort of, it's good to have that in your mind. Like what do I do in that situation, to have like some kind of savings or some kind of whatever.
Definitely, yeah. Backup plans, if you can, if you are in a position to do that, because not everyone is able to have savings. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, so it's quite tricky. But if you can do that, have a financial backup plan. One thing about that is, no matter how good it seems, no matter how attractive it seems, don't quit your day job. Like, don't quit.
Yeah. Or have I can step back into this depending on what your situation is. Or I can go back into my field if I need to and get a regular job. Sorry, there's some banging around going on upstairs.
I can't hear it. Yeah, but yeah, like you say, like if you can directly go back into your day job, or you've just gone to part-time or something like that. So
yeah.
Like, it is there just in case. Because this isn't like quitting your day job and making money writing novels or becoming an actor. Something like that.
Similar.
It's similar, but it's not quite, because if you become an actor, it's a hard kind of, field to get into. But once you are in that field, once you do become a success, you've done enough auditions, you've done enough pilots, the pilots are picked up, you're actually making money off it, then you're actually in the system. But there are a lot of other production companies and talent agencies and things like that you can use. But in terms of this online world, if you're a musician, there's only Spotify and YouTube. If you're someone who's making video content, there's only YouTube, really. That's the only one that's the only game in town where you can really make money through it. You can't make decent money through any of the other online video hosting things. You can maybe do that through Patreon alone and host videos on Vimeo or something like this. But that would be really hard to do.
Get eyes on yourself. Yeah, I think YouTube and probably Instagram and other sites or whatever. You need to get the eyes on you.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, quitting a job and doing the online only stuff is a lot more dangerous than doing that for these traditional things that people would normally do that for, becoming a novelist or something like that. It's a lot more dangerous online. It's easier online. It's easier to start that. Much easier to become like a famous YouTuber than it is to become a famous actor.
I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that's why your advice is very good, actually. Yeah, because making that leap. It's like if you're a novelist, well, probably you're going to want to have written half a dozen books first before you or even thinking about that. But yeah, to be a YouTuber, it's like someone could come to a snap decision very quickly. And, you know, everybody's different and your specific options and your specific circumstances are different. But yeah, it's good to think, always good to think of, okay, like what if this doesn't happen? What if this all falls through? Like, how am I going to survive? Like, to sort of have that in mind so you're kind of ready and you don't get destroyed.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about like the big things, like, you know, suddenly my YouTube channel has been banned and they won't let me post anymore. You know, that does happen to many people, but it could just be like your viewership has been cut in half, or you can't monetize as many videos anymore. That could be it. So there's millions of different ways that can impact you. If your viewership's cut in half, you could somehow combat that by diversifying the way you get viewership in. One of the problems with these, you know, like people who post on YouTube, they do all this work to make these videos, but they rely on the internal promotional system to get people to look at their videos, and that's something that people do on all these things, you know, Webtoon or Drunkduck or you know, whatever else. People always like imagine that the system will benefit them in somehow, that the system will get people in that will promote their stuff. And there's so many different other creators on these platforms, and the system just can't be there only for you. It's going to want to promote those people as well. You've got to spread those viewers around. So really what happens is you've got to get your viewership some other way. So you'll still get them to your channel on YouTube or your comic on Drunkduck or wherever, but really a better way to do that is to do like to pay for advertising, or just be posting on Reddit, be, you know, have your social media accounts, your Instagram, your Twitter, diversify where you get these people, where you funnel them into your comic or your YouTube video. Try and do that. That said, that is a lot of work, and like the internal promotion system on YouTube is a massive draw. If it works for you, it works massively for you, and it will give you like hundreds of thousands, millions of people looking at your video, and it's very hard to achieve that kind of level through online marketing and online efforts yourself, unless you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for ads. It's very hard to do that. So that's iffy advice. I mean, it's going to be easier to get like to generate fans who will want to come back and keep looking at your stuff if you do that kind of promotion. So you have regulars, but it's not going to be as easy to get casual viewers, because, I mean, you're not going to get as many as you would through the YouTube internal promotion system. But then again, you can't rely on the internal promotional system. So I'm afraid that's what you're going to have to do. But yeah, for smaller sites like Drunkduck, it definitely pays off if you're doing outside marketing. You're not going to get that many people just by having your stuff appear on the front page. It's never going to happen. People dream, people imagine that, if my comic gets featured, that's going to give me a lot more viewers. Or, you know, if I get into the top 10 and my comic stays on the front page, that's going to get me a lot more viewers. And it will do that. We'll get you quite a few more viewers, but it's not going to last. Features only give you a lot more views for a very short time. And when you've just updated and your comic appears on the front page, or if you like have done something like noteworthy, reached a milestone, and your comic gets into the news post, that's only going to give you like a slight bump. It's not going to give you the big boost. The way you get big boosts with comics is diversifying where you promote it. So, you know, YouTube or Reddit or TV tropes. Like,
why did I quit my job when I was featured? When you featured me, well, such a mistake.
You've never crawled back to the heat. You never crawled back to the top after that, Baines. It ruined you.
So straight to the bottom. Damn it. Thought I was done. It's like, oh, there, finally, my ship came in. It's featured.
You reached the pinnacle, what you thought was the pinnacle.
Like, I'm done. Just wait for those dollars to start rolling in. No dollars.
It's just failure.
Just failure after failure since then. No, not at all. It's been actually wonderful, but not in the monetary sense. Nothing.
No. Monetizing your work is it takes work to do. I mean, one of the problems is stuff like YouTube popularity is a bit of a lottery. In that, not only is it hard to get, like, you're very lucky that, oh wow, suddenly people like me, yeah. It's not just that. It's like you are winning a lottery. And you can't really expect to keep winning that lottery.
Well, yeah. It's so fun to see, like, a video will pop up on YouTube. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, and I'll watch it. And the creator will be in the comments. The creator of the video will be in the comments saying, like, I have no idea why. Like, I made this video 3 years ago, and, like, my life has changed so much since then. But, like, my videos don't get this many views, but suddenly this one is getting tens of thousands of views. And, thank you for watching it. Like, I have no idea why this is so popular all of a sudden. But it's fun, but yeah, like you say, it's completely unpredictable.
It's ephemeral, like it's the thing, like, with fame as well. Like, if we're talking, like, in a macro sense, when you have, like, people who get a one-hit wonder, they don't know why this song succeeded, but it did, and it got them massively popular, got all this radio play, it got them, all these deals and stuff like this, but they'll never do anything as big as that, and they're only known for that one song. That's the one-hit wonder. And that's a sort of an example of what can happen.
Sure.
You just don't put your eggs in one basket. Although that's an extreme, the one-hit wonder. So we're talking about, like, when people have reached a certain level of success and they've actually managed to make it into a business, almost. Even though it has reached that level, please don't expect that it will stay that way, because you're at the whim of big corporate companies who don't have... There's no kind of, like, system, there's no rules in place for them to manage how they... What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say there's no kind of standard set for how they deal with their users. Like, in the normal world, we have like laws and rules and courts and stuff like that. So if an employer terminates your employment, normally people have unions they can go to. People have courts of arbitration, things like that. There's rules in place for how an employer can treat an employee, and that works, to an extent. It works for most people. Sure, there's examples where it doesn't, and there's examples where people exploit and people fall through the cracks. But in general, for most people, that does work. For things like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, whatever, there's none of that in place. It falls through a sort of a loophole, because these companies are like global. And there's no kind of regulatory body, so there's no rules in place, and they can destroy your livelihood like that, because there's no comeback. There's nothing you can do once they ban your account or change the rules so you're not getting the viewership anymore. Nothing you can do. So you've got to be aware of that. Like, maybe we can change that one day. Maybe we can I don't know, like campaign and make governments impose rules on these companies like there really should be. But we're not up there yet. And that change isn't starting with us. Bones and I aren't going to start that. But
there have been multiple petitions and things over the years.
There have been attempts
to try and get. Yeah, there's been attempts. Yeah.
There's a thing called the YouTuber Union. It's really not managed to make much headway because these freaking companies are so bloody powerful. You know,
YouTube isn't very inclined to promote that.
They're just freaking bastards. So,
at the same time, it's an amazing time, you know, like to be able to make a go of things and like create something. You can do it online. So many people have done it and are doing it. Like it's pretty awesome, man. Just like, you know, like regular people creating this thing based on whatever interest they have.
It is.
It's great. You know, it's an exciting time.
But it's a wild west. You can make a lot of money, or you can just be totally broke and left with nothing. It can happen.
Yes.
It's a wild west, yes. So go for Wild West rules. Don't carry 6 guns. Please don't do that. but you know, have backup plans and diversify. Don't rely on one thing. So that's the advice of this particular Quackcast. Because this is Drunkduck is about creators, you know, for creators, promoting creators, being a home for creators. And we care about creators. And these companies absolutely do not. So, as a creator, you've got to do what's best for you and guard against misfortune. But like Bane says, remain positive because there are so many good opportunities.
Yeah, man. It doesn't. I mean, in a way, you're right, of course, but you know, to go into something with that as your dominating like mentality, I don't think either of us is arguing for that. Like, it's a great time to like get like excited about what you're doing and look at what's right in front of you. And you don't need me to tell you this, or maybe you do. If you do, I say, like, you know, go for it, man. Do your thing.
Yeah,
it's great, you know. And like entertainment, if you happen to be doing like comics or videos or whatever for entertainment's sake, or maybe it's educational, whatever it is, like there's so much space for more niche or niche, however you want to say it.
Yeah, there's space.
With entertainment, like there's like very highly likely that there's an audience at a level that will be good enough. You don't need millions and millions of people to watch your stuff necessarily, to pay for your stuff, to make a go of it. People are making a go of it, and they became like, they have their own business based on whatever they want to do, whatever they like doing. You know? So it's awesome. You have to kind of keep your eye out for the changes, you know, but that's kind of been the case for entrepreneurs like through history. I'm not an entrepreneur really, but you know, a lot of these entrepreneurial types will talk about like, you can't worry about who's in political power. Like, this is a slightly different time with where these books were written, but it's like, you know, if it's like a political party that's like charging you more in taxes, or one that's doing this with regulations or that with regulations, like the changing laws, you can't like make it all about that. Don't make that a reason not to do something and not to start, because it's just the way it is. You know, you have to kind of, if you want to do something, you have to find your way despite those changing things. Like, that's just kind of like part of the deal of living. Do I know what I'm talking about? I have no idea, but yeah, anyway,
Yeah, and in terms of starting and beginning something, definitely you just got to go ahead and do it. You can't be prevaricating and thinking, "Oh, what if, what if, what if?" But do it sensibly.
I spent years doing that myself. I can agree.
You got to do it sensibly, and when you actually are doing it, and you actually have made a go of it, you've won the lottery. You're making a go of it, and you're doing this thing so well. Just got to realize that carpet can be flipped out from under you. So make the best of it while you got it.
I kept trying to end on a positive, and I was just having to drag us back down to earth. and tried. But
win that lottery. Get there. Get up there. Make something people love and make money out of it and do it.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right. That's the Quackcast.
Thank y'all.
System of 593. Bye-bye, people.
Ciao.